I'm kicking things off with our fun photo of Rex. He's sort of become the mascot for the city, our beloved orange dinosaur at Beach and Peach. Everybody loves dinosaurs, but we really don't want to get stuck in the past like this guy. It's been our hope and our belief and our mission since we came in here to not be like our prehistoric pal here, to move this city forward. And that's why I'm here to talk about this budget tonight. They say that a budget is a moral document, and I believe that. It's a value statement. What do we value? So let me share with you the values behind our budget this year, starting with our core function of public safety. More than half of every tax dollar in our city goes to police, fire, and rescue. As you can see, we allocate the rest to things like infrastructure. That's your street resurfacing, your sidewalks, etc., health, education, and so on. So how do we compare with other Florida cities? Well, as you can see, our public safety spending on a per capita basis is not out of line with that of other major Florida cities. However, as a total percentage of the overall budget in Tampa and Orlando, they spend closer to 20%. In Miami, it's around 35%. In Jacksonville, for every $2 we spend in our general fund, $1 goes to public safety. Now, we choose to invest in our first responders because when a crisis hits, seconds matter and lives are at stake. We also have more than 840 square miles to cover in Jacksonville. That's hundreds more than any other Florida city. So we believe that that investment is important. I want you to take a look at this slide. This reaffirms something that I have said over and over again. In Jacksonville, we run a lean budget. Our overall city budget per resident is among the lowest in the state. And even though our city is growing by about 17,000 people a year, we have held our departments at a relatively flat place. In other words, our city government hasn't grown like the number of people has, but we're spending less on our residents than some might think, would be a good idea. And we're doing it with the lowest property tax of any major Florida city by far. By far. Despite being efficient and being the lowest tax city in Florida, you may have heard that some on the city council would like to cut this lean budget. The proposed property tax cut will result in the average homeowner saving a little more than $1 per month. That's what you're going to get back if this cut goes through. That's about 5 cents a day. And it does nothing for the roughly half of the people in our city who rent. How many of you rent? Not too many in this group. So most of you are homeowners in this group? Okay. The cut eliminates $15 million annually for affordable housing, health programs, and other services that our residents are telling us they desperately want. The cuts we're fussing over here are less than 1% of the overall budget. That's $15 million cut, and that may seem like a small amount in a $2 billion budget. Like I said, it's about 1%. May seem like small numbers for this year, but it compounds. If we cut the millage this year, that millage rate stays there, providing we don't cut it further. That adds up to more than $76 million over the next 5 years. So just look at this. Wait. This is not belt tightening. It risks compromising public safety and essential city services in the future. It's just, frankly, driven by political pressure. It's a gimmick that does nothing to address the affordability crisis that is top of mind for most of the residents in our city. 5 cents a day in the pocket of the average homeowner means fewer affordable homes, more people homeless, senior citizens going to bed on an empty stomach, overcrowded emergency rooms, sicker adults, and all of this adds up to lost economic opportunity. I'm going to make a very strong economic argument tonight because while I feel a very strong moral reason for doing some of the things we're doing, the economic argument is what I believe really resonates with most. And so I want you to hear me on this. It's an economic argument. So here's the reality. We are the fastest growing city in the state of Florida. More people, more wear on the roads, more services needed, right? Some people like the idea of growth, other people don't. But the truth is we're growing. And so the bottom line is, how are we going to handle that growth? It's not if we're going to grow. We can't close the gates and tell people not to come. It's how are we going to handle that growth? And hopefully you're seeing that so far we've done pretty well with the property tax rate that we've had, even though it is very low by comparison to other cities that are big. Hopefully you're also seeing all the cranes in the air around Jacksonville. We're doing some good things. Businesses are choosing to expand here in Jacksonville. We've got momentum on our side. People from across the country and around the world are choosing our city, our river city by the sea, as I like to call it. Just look at this slide. It took Jacksonville 50 years to grow by 500,000 people from the time of our consolidation to present day. At the current rate of our growth, the next 500,000 will be added in half that time, between now and 2050. An additional 500,000 people between now and 2050. Growth can mean some positive things, new jobs, businesses, opportunities. However, the data indicates that without investment in our people, we will remain a tale of two cities, with parts of our city benefiting from this growth while others fall increasingly behind. Look at how long our residents live. Now, as a city, our average life expectancy is 2 years lower than the state and national average. But depending on where you live in Jacksonville, the gap can get pretty big. For example, if you live in the Loretto neighborhood in Mandarin, on average you're going to live to be 87. In College Garden, your median life expectancy, that's over by UF Health, is about 62, a 25-year gap. I believe here in this area, your average life expectancy is 72. Is it 72 or 73? 73. When we invest with purpose, we don't just balance our ledgers. We add years to life and life to years. We have to understand that every move we make impacts the next thing down the line. Nothing exists in a vacuum. So I want you to remember that as we go through these slides tonight. I'm going to highlight 3 investments that the Finance Committee cut or reduced, and I'm asking for your help to fully restore these cuts. Our budget is a budget for the people. Our proposals for addressing hunger, access to health care, and affordable housing will not solve every problem, but they are lifelines to those who receive assistance. They help thousands of people move from surviving to thriving. For the rest of us, it means economic benefit that comes from keeping our citizens healthy and in their homes. Let's start with affordable housing and homelessness. Now, we've all heard about the cost of housing lately, right? In 10 of our 14 council districts, the housing cost burden exceeds the national average. That should move us from debate to action. I've proposed nearly $12 million for affordable housing and homelessness prevention. The Finance Committee cut $7.8 million from that, which includes all of our local funding for making housing more affordable. 2 years ago, when I came into office, it was the first time our city actually invested local dollars into affordable housing. And that was before our residents told us this is the #1 crisis facing us right now. So we've said we need to step in, make sure we create a pilot program to show the private sector how we can move forward on this, and then go get funding from the private sector. These initiatives were a continuation of a pilot program that has proven to be successful. So here's what these projects could accomplish in 1 year. We would build 60 additional homes that are affordable. We would help 85 working families buy their first home. We would keep 80 families in their homes by diverting them from eviction. We would move hundreds more into transitional housing. And the idea is to keep at-risk families from falling into homelessness. When a family can afford a safe home, then their kids are healthier, their work is steadier, and their neighborhoods are stronger. Doing all that, as I said, is the right thing to do. but it's also the economic imperative. These programs, which we hope the full City Council will restore, would provide an economic benefit of more than $30 million in year one, a return on investment of over 300%. Remember, follow-on effects of keeping people in their homes, of keeping them healthy. If the moral reasons for keeping families housed do not persuade our City Council, I hope the economic reasons will. Now, access to food. This is a quiet emergency in plain sight. Nearly 1 in 5 of our neighbors can't reliably afford groceries, even before you factor in inflation. Hunger in our community is so widespread that 11 of 14 City Council districts clock in above the national average. Hunger is also expensive. It adds thousands in healthcare costs per person per year. Every missed meal weakens a household and slows our local economy. We need to treat this like smart infrastructure. Invest $1 now to prevent a costly ER visit later. That's why my budget included $2.2 million for Meals on Wheels to support 2,000 older adults who have no other way of getting those meals. They're shut-ins. They can't go to our senior centers. They need these meals. The Finance Committee cut and then only restored some of this funding. We need the full funding restored because rising inflation will only exacerbate the problem of hunger. We receive an amazing return on investment for this Meals on Wheels program, about $4.8 million in reduced healthcare spending each year. That's roughly 100% return on investment. And it gives our homebound seniors dignity, which is also an important value for our community. Let's be the city where no seniors or kids go hungry, and no working family has to choose between groceries and the light bill. Again, if you look at the numbers here, there are also some affordable housing proposals that we put in that would allow us to build more affordable housing, which is incredibly important by accessing other funds. But the whole goal with these pilot programs, again, is to show a proof of concept that it's successful, show that it works, show that it brings us a good return on investment, and then bring that to the private sector for investment from the private sector. We're not looking to solve all the problems of the world from city government. What we're looking to do is to show what works and to ask the business community to step in, to ask the private sector to step in. And so far, they seem willing to do that. If we tried to book a doctor's appointment, access to health care. If we try to book a doctor's appointment, you know the wait right now, right? The data confirms what families live through every day. Jacksonville has fewer primary care physicians and pediatricians than Orlando, Tampa, or Miami. We have a huge dearth of primary care physicians per person in this city, and that's hurting us. In 10 of 14 council districts, the number of primary care physicians per resident is worse than in our Florida peer cities. When primary care is out of reach, and let's be clear, primary care is not expensive. Primary care is cheap. It's when you get cancer, or when you get heart disease, or when you get some exotic disease you got to go to prolonged treatment for. That's what's expensive. So if we can keep these people from getting to that point, we're saving ourselves a lot of money. When primary care is out of reach, people turn to the ER. Parents miss work, and preventable conditions become chronic conditions. The human cost is heavy, and the economic cost is real. That's why we've called for investment in our telehealth program through HealthLink Jax and primary care access via JaxCare Connect. The investment is modest, $3.9 million. Again, the Finance Committee cut these programs and then only restored some of the funding. However, we need funding to be fully restored, as thousands of our neighbors are likely to be pushed out of the Affordable Care Act and out of Medicaid because of the bill that Congress just passed. I want you to understand that. Starting in 2027, the Congressional Budget Office has estimated that almost 17 million Americans will no longer have health care. In Jacksonville, that will be somewhere between 30 and 50,000 people. What do you think that's going to do to our ERs? What do you think that's going to do to UF Health? We better be ready, because that's a burden on all of us. That's a burden on all of us. These small investments that we are making to show the private sector how successful they can be really pay off. in reduced emergency room visits and productivity gains that come from a healthy workforce. The investment from these two programs has a return on investment of approximately 248%. Primary care is civic infrastructure. Think of it like that. It keeps families healthy, businesses productive, and our safety net strong. So let me close with a simple truth here. A responsible budget does not just fund police and fire. Those are incredibly important things. And I want to remind you, before we move on from that, that this administration just returned a defined pension and a pay raise to these first responders because they desperately need it. We were losing firefighters and police officers because we had gone away from giving them a defined pension, so they were going elsewhere where other cities were offering it. So we put it back into our budget, and just this year alone, that's going to cost us almost $100 million. It's important, but I want you to understand these costs are going to mount as we continue to go along. Now, you and I can debate how you feel about that expenditure in the budget. I think it's important, and I think we need it. And that's why we have done that. But in addition to police and fire, I assume y'all want your potholes fixed and your roads paved and your sidewalks done. I know I do. I got to ride around these streets all day long watching my teeth about chatter out of my head. So I absolutely want to make sure we continue to invest in those things. But a responsible budget does more than just invest in police and fire. It opens doors to a set of house keys, to a stocked pantry, to a doctor's visit on time. These investments pay for themselves and then some. If you want to dive deeper into some of the data behind tonight's presentation, visit our new data tank at stateofjax.org, which incidentally the Finance Committee also cut from our proposed budget. It's there, it's up there. Hiding data from the people is not a recipe for success. Every successful business will tell you that if they did not have good data, they could not make good decisions. They wouldn't make money. You don't want to just blindly throw money at stuff and hope that it works or come back 5 years later and go, well, you know, that wasn't a very good investment. You want to know what you're investing in and know that you're investing in the right things. That's what good data is for, and despite all the rhetoric you've heard around that, that is why we have invested in that data. My budget goals are simple and common sense. Safer streets, stronger neighborhoods, and a city where talent meets affordability. Jacksonville is on the move. I don't know if y'all saw, yesterday it was announced that we're getting a Publix downtown. I mean, that was unheard of years ago. And I know that if you've been to one of my town halls before, you've heard me say it. I know there are other neighborhoods besides downtown. Hopefully you've seen my action on some of those things. But what I believe with every fiber of my being is that if we can make downtown vibrant and go and draw businesses and people down there, that's going to give us the revenue without raising more taxes to infuse money into the rest of our city. And that's what we need. We want to stay an affordable city. We don't want to be Miami or Tampa or Orlando. That's not our goal. Our goal is to remain an affordable city, but to make sure that we're investing in those things that not only bring a return on investment into our coffers for our citizens, but also create a good quality of life for our citizens. That is why I came to this office. I did not come to this office to play the same political games that we have watched over and over for years. I came to bring change, and I came because I love this city, and I want to see it succeed, and I want to see us succeed. So with that, I'm gonna open it up to questions. Hopefully that was somewhat illuminating for you in terms of understanding what we're doing. But I have, like I said, in addition to me, you see I've got a ton of staff here, so we should be able to answer your questions if you have them. If you would not mind, if you have a question, and you don't have to make a big old line, you can just step up as it's time to talk, and if you want to. But I'd like to answer your questions here, and we'll just go until time is up at 7:30. I don't think that's on, Thomas. Neighborhoods Director. Right here. There you go. Thank you, Brian.
Well, you heard me the first time about thank you, right?
Thank you. Yes, I got that. Thank you very much.
My name is Pat Medley, and one of the things that was cut out of the budget was the library that we were expecting. I do a lot of virtual, but the library is sort of the center of the community, and while the budget does not address that, and I understand that the people that are doing the building need to be stakeholders too. When I was the PTA president in another jurisdiction that my kids grew up in, one of the parents suggested that we get donations from the same people that were building so rapidly in our area to help fund the library. Even if it takes a couple years to get the $5 million, I think that's something that we need to consider.
Yes, ma'am.
And I would certainly be available to do help with some of that stuff.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That is an important piece. I agree.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor
Good evening.
Deegan. Thank you so much for coming to my neighborhood. As a Iraqi veteran that struggles with PTSD, it's hard for me to get out the house, so I'm glad to be here.
Well, thank you for doing that.
Thank you. You probably heard of my story before. I was homeless for almost 3 years in Jacksonville, finally got back on my feet, bought my first property. So the neighborhood that I bought my property in is struggling with a lot of homeless people living behind it, in front of it, next to it, and Gaffney Jr. has done a lot to help, so I appreciate that. But I'm trying to figure out what the city is doing with the homeless crisis so we can help those people. I call the city all the time. I'm not calling on them, I'm calling for the homeless people because I feel like they need extra help. So what is the city doing?
Is Tracy Polson here tonight? She could not come. Okay, so that's another piece that was cut from the budget.
Oh.
Our affordable housing and homelessness initiatives are very interconnected. Our PATH team through JFRD goes out and tries to help our homeless population get to the services they need. But I think we hit some better numbers last year and people sort of went, oh, well, good, our problem solved. Well, no. You have to continue to invest in all those wraparound services that come to create a better opportunity. Because if you remove homeless people off the street and you just take them to a temporary place and you don't do anything else, they're just back in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I was a case manager for 11 years, so I understand the wraparound services. I did it for women veteran, and so it's just that it's not that it's a scary thing. I was homeless, so I know that sometimes your mindset, you do whatever you have to do to survive. So I'm trying to not, prevent it from coming something. So it's me that's calling.
Yeah. So just so you know, what we have been investing in is we're investing in not only our PATH team that goes out. This is our new fire chief, Chief Percy Golden, right here, who's out there with our PATH team. Thank you, Percy, for being here. We take them off the streets, but then we obviously make sure they get into some sort of a temporary housing situation, but then we also make sure that they get connected to mental health services or get connected to job training or whatever it is that they need to get themselves to a transitional house where they can then remain until they're ready to get back into society. There's all sorts of steps in there, but at the end of the day, that's the recipe for success, to getting to what we call functional zero, where you're not putting any more people on the streets than you're taking off, right?
Exactly.
So it's incredibly important that we continue to fund that, but that is very interconnected with affordable housing.
So what can I do? What do I vote on to make sure that I can help me?
What you got to do is go talk to your city council.
Okay.
So the budget will pass in its final form on September the 23rd.
Okay.
Up to that point, there will be committee meetings and things like that. We can provide you with information on when all this stuff is. But I would love for you to call your city council people. I would love for you to write them notes. I would love for you to show up and say, hey, this issue is important to me. Because I think, it's important that you do that, because I do think that our city council people want to do what their constituents want.
Okay.
And sometimes they don't know until you tell them. Right? So show up. That's what I would say. Show up and then vote. Vote for what you want. Yes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. What's that? Yes, at-large council members too, for sure. And I'm going to tell you in a related issue, Al Ferraro over here, it leads our blight initiative, which was also cut from the budget. But we have a big problem with blight around this city, which is also connected in some ways to our homeless situation, right, Al? And so Al's been trying to go in and educate our council folks about, in each district, this is not just a problem in one district, it's a problem all over the city. So again, it's a quality of life issue, it's a safety issue, and frankly, if we want to have the type of city that we say that we want to have, a world-class city, we don't want to see blight all over the place. So that's another issue that we'd love to see put back. Yes, sir.
Mayor Deegan.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Number one is this. I found a video from 30 years ago.
Oh, Lord have mercy. Is this me?
You did a news story. I was the comic comedian.
Okay.
And you and Steve Abrams you were the anchor.
Abrams,
yeah.
That's a blast from the past.
So that goes from the past. I moved to Jacksonville in 1990. Like the young lady before, ended up homeless. Technically, I didn't know I was homeless. I was just hustling to move. 5 years later, I ended up president of the limo service that would become the official limo service of the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I was really excited.
Congratulations.
Yeah, to watch that. So I'm an entrepreneur to my heart.
I love that.
I don't ask for help when I'm down, but I now, with my consulting firm, I'm working with a client that is literally paying $224.29 every day on a merchant credit account or credit advance loan. Yeah, that look that you right there, most people don't realize that there are entrepreneurs throughout this county that can't get funding. So they go back and they pray to Jesus and the phone rings. And it's a guy who says, I can get you funding.
Right.
How much money are you
Right.
making? Oh, you're doing $3,000 a day. You can afford a $250 a day loan. Here's $30,000.
Wow.
You do the math after they make those daily payments, they're paying back 57%. I want to just say that so that I can state numbers, right? The main number I want to state is this. Duval County is about 55% white, 31% black, 10% Hispanic, 5% other. Yet 74% of city council is Republican. And when you count that up, the deck is stacked in the favor of the South Side white Republicans. And when the Republicans come gunning for you, they come gunning for me. And so I remember when the Better Jacksonville plan was passed, the South Side was sand dunes and cow pastures. Southside Boulevard didn't even exist, and JTB was like a traffic jam like crazy. Today, the South Side is booming. 32218 is booming, but we don't have a Better Jacksonville plan. It's just booming because we got it going on like that, right? You saw it driving up in here. If we were to take that $13 million that they're cutting from the budget and put it into early childhood music education, because I'm very partial to children, it's been proven that for every dollar we invest in early childhood education, it returns $14 to $16 by the time they're 18 years old. That $13 million that they're cutting from the budget is like taking $208 million out of our children's mouths. I really am not so concerned about me because I know how to struggle. I'm gonna make it happen, and most adults will be okay. But there are no statistics for our children in your presentation. And it seems that our children are an afterthought. When they show up and there's 600 unruly children downtown and the cops are rounding them up, they're saying, we got a problem. But I can tell you where the next 16-year-old gang member is right now. He's 4 years old in preschool. And that's where we need to focus. And I'm wanting to know what's your place.
Let me say this. Because we didn't talk about that, and I don't know why it didn't make tonight's presentation or whether I just missed it. But in our Jacksonville Journey Forward program, we do invest in programs for children that hopefully keep them thriving so that they don't get into trouble later. But also, we've invested a great deal into Mayor Deegan's River City Readers and other literacy initiatives. And what we know is that the number one indicator for whether a child is going to be successful when they become an older adult is, are they literate? Can they read at third grade level and beyond, right? That's the key. Our literacy numbers in the targeted areas that we focused on have practically doubled. So we are absolutely seeing major gains in literacy, and that has been a big investment from my administration. But I would say this further. If you have a healthy parent at home that is able to work, that is able to eat, that is able to get health care, you are going to have a healthier family, and that includes the children. That's why when I say a follow-on effect, it's not just the adults that are affected, it's the children that are affected. So I would argue to you that every single program we're talking about here, from affordable housing to homelessness to Meals on Wheels to you name it, affects children. It's not just the adults that are affected, it's the entire family and the entire economy of the city. So I don't disagree with anything you're saying. Listen, as an old friend of mine used to say all the time, all things are possible with money, and I think that's true. But at the end of the day, what I am simply arguing for is to invest in quality of life of this city, and that includes our children's initiatives, and to make sure that we don't, for reasons that, like I said, this was on nobody's radar, this whole idea of cutting $15 million from the budget. By the way, Richard Reichert is the head of what do we call your department? Internal Services? Administrative Services. That's his whole department, basically, budget.
Okay.
I mean, it's a lot of money for what we do, some of the services that we provide in the city. But at the end of the day, you cut that out this year, and then that's compounded next year, and then that's compounded the year after. And not only are you not providing the services for the people that already exist in your community, but you're not providing the services for all the people who are moving to your community. And the commitments that you made to police and fire, I don't care what anybody tells you. There was a bill that was put in today to try to put lipstick on this pig that says let's take $13 million and take it out of our reserves, which by the way we're never supposed to touch.
Right.
Take it out of reserves and put it into a pot so we can make sure that if public safety is impacted, that we have money to cover it. So we're going to take money we're going to give people $1 back in their pockets on average a month, so that then we can take that money out of reserves and put it it's a shell game, is what it is. And in the meantime, we're missing out on all these incredible services for our community that we could be providing. And I'm certainly not opposed to what you're talking about. This may be something that we do through Kids Hope Alliance. I don't know.
Well, and by the way, the team at Kids Hope Alliance have been 100% advocates.
They're great.
I'm going to say this. Thank you very much for just that lengthy answer, because that just shows your.
I'm not capable of a short answer.
I know. So you chewed up a lot of my time. So
no. You got as much time as you want. You got as much time as you want. Go ahead.
So the real reason why I did that was just to lay the foundation. I moved here. My biggest problem has been the media. You can Google Richard Cuff Guiding Success, and you probably have a whole slew of news stories of the work that I've done over the last 20 years. But every one of the stories, every time the media comes to do a story on our violin program for children, it's gotta be on the angle of this black man is putting violins in the hands of black children instead of guns. And that's frustrating as can be.
That's offensive.
Okay?
I gotcha.
So here's part of the challenge. Nothing told is nothing sold. I'm a marketing guy. I believe if you own a business, you shouldn't change the color of the toilet paper in the bathroom without putting out a press release. Tell somebody. But nothing gets told about the North Side. I guarantee you, did you all know that Anson sold for like the $54 million back in March? So the Lord Jesus, hold on, y'all. I got it right here. I'm gonna actually read the headline, because this is what the problem is. We're celebrating the fact that Publix has announced that they're moving downtown. Meanwhile, the headline reads, "Newly constructed industrial distribution center in Jacksonville sold for $53.75 million. JLL Capital advised on the sale of the Emerson Commerce Center," which is right up 32218, $53 million. And you would think we just flushed the toilet up here. There's a lot of economic development going on up here. Black folk are doing more than robbing and stealing and killing. We are the wealthiest community of black people in this state. The poverty level is among the lowest in the state. What we are like, we're like the children that don't give you any problem. You don't have to worry about us. And so you don't ask how we're doing, because we're doing fine. But your office can't name any major initiative that's going on north of the Trout River, like downtown investment and Cecil Field or any of that. I just want us to stop being the silent partner. And let's get some real investments up here, or at the very least, keep your hands off the tax dollars that we send downtown. Send them right back to us, because we know what to do with them up here. And I'm done.
Thank you very much. I appreciate those comments. Thank you. I received that. I appreciate it.
Hi, Mayor Deegan. My name is Jennifer Kelly. I'm here tonight for a very specific reason, which is about all of the development that's going on in this area. By the way, welcome to Ocean Way. That's where we are, 32226. So this area, it's very, it's kind of changing. It used to be rural, now there's more people moving. I'm one of the people that moved here. You had a chart before about talent, affordability coming to Jacksonville. So I have enjoyed being here, and I really enjoy living in Jacksonville, and I'm very excited about the
Where did you say you're from?
Well, I'm from all over. I'm a Navy brat, but
okay.
I live right here in 32226.
Okay.
So basically, this area has an onslaught that's about to come from developers. And there has been a lot going on recently up off of Yellow Bluff Road. Developers trying to come, rezoning properties for duplexes, small homes on lots. I'm really not against growth, but when I went to a meeting on one of the ordinances 2 weeks ago, we were told that the planning council, they don't even look at things like level of service. They don't consider the schools in the area. They don't look at the traffic studies. They only look at the lot sizes. I think that touches on what the gentleman before just said. We need to make sure that we have investments in our communities. All these developers are coming and they're on the take, but our school, Sheffield Middle School, it's not getting any money to get any better. It really needs work. It needs to be expanded. This high school right here, when I was at this meeting with Mike Gay a couple weeks ago, one woman got up and said that basically it looks like there's enough room in this school, but that's because teachers are doing things like using classrooms and making that, or closets and making that a classroom. Yeah, so this area, it is going to grow, and it's going to boom here. We have the land. This is where the developers are coming. Look at all the ordinances. We need to make sure that our roads are getting expanded, that our schools are getting the money. You're basically, what you're showing here, it's what's going to happen if our children in this community don't get what they need in school to learn so they can be successful, so they can be hired by the companies in Jacksonville, not just bringing in people from all the other states because we don't have the talent here. So my specific request to you tonight is to look at what's going on. We need money for Yellow Bluff and Surratt Road. It's a very dangerous intersection. We need you to go to the North Florida Traffic Planning Organization and ask them to prioritize that for their study for funding. I think Mike Gay, you need $6 million, maybe he requested $15 million, I don't remember, but we need that here. That intersection up there is extremely dangerous. And
see this woman right here taking incredible notes?
Yes.
That's your public works director, Nina Sickler.
Yes, yeah, we can't get anywhere with this. We have people currently standing out on the corner in the afternoon. We have been on First Coast News, so we really need you to put some investment here. And the great thing is, Mayor Deegan, is that everything else that happened in Jacksonville, all the growth that's already occurred that you're now coming in and trying to fix, that was before you, right? So you can have your mark right now on this community here in Ocean Way and show them what it's like to develop with civic infrastructure in mind. Make sure the schools are good, make sure the roads are good. We don't want to crash our cars on the way to work. So I'm asking you to really look at this Ocean Way community, put your mark on it, and show us what you can do. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Beautiful.
Thank you, Mayor Deegan, for being here. for giving up your evenings to meet with us in other places. I want a public thank you to Al Ferraro, and I have another project for him. I live in Riverview on the north side, and I've been going down Prospect Street almost every other day and seeing this huge root from a water oak about 20 feet in diameter. After Hurricane Helene and Milton, a whole year it's been there, they took away the tree. And I happened to meet him by accident at a Riverview neighborhood meeting, and he shared with me his cell phone. Wow, how many of you big people would let some little person like me have your cell phone? But he did. So I took some pictures, and I texted him the pictures, and 2 weeks later, the root was gone.
Well, that's Al.
Yeah.
That's Al.
But I have another project. How many of you guys have shopped at Sam's Wholesale, or gotten gas? Well, every time I go there, almost every day, there's a lady on the side road, not on the major highway, but she's panhandling. And she's there when the temperature is 100 degrees, when it's 80 degrees, the sweat is rolling down her body, she's sunburned. And I stopped one day and parked and went over to her, and I wanted to be friendly to her, and I asked her name. Her name is Stephanie. And I said, why don't you get a job? Oh, I have a job. Oh, where do you work? I work at Target in Arlington. Well, what are you doing here? Well, So Al, if you could make a visit, because she is one of the homeless people, but it's like every time I'm there, it's like she waits for me to come by. And I feel very bad. But thank you.
Thank you. Listen,
what
thank
is
you.
the policy on panhandling, though? Is it a rule?
You're not supposed to panhandle. It's a big city, right? But we are, like I said, we are making progress on getting homeless people to the services that they need. Sounds like she is not homeless. I can't tell. Is she homeless or she's not homeless? She is homeless? Okay.
I believe so.
But I mean, honestly, like I said, this is what I want everybody to think about. All the things you're hearing. Think about all the things that you're hearing. This is why it is so incredibly important that we make investments in our city and in our citizens. This is important work that we have in front of us, and we shouldn't be cutting our already small property taxes, and they may not feel that way, for $1 a month back to our citizens when they should be being invested in services. That's all I'm trying to say. And I'm hearing you on that you want more investment, and guess what every neighborhood says when I go there? We want more investment, right? Everybody says that. And I will tell you one thing that I have done is when, for the last year, and this continues, we have taken all of our most disinvested neighborhoods and we have moved them to the top of the list for our capital improvement plan. So that is happening. And I know sometimes it's hard to notice everything that we're doing because it is a big area and there is a lot going on. But to the lady that talked before the last lady, and I don't know if she's still here. Are you still here? No, she left. But I want you to understand that it takes all of us. I have absolutely no authority over our school system. That's a completely different number of elected officials. I have no authority over our school system. But for us to be successful as a city, all of us, all parts, the mayor's office, the city council, the schools, the sheriff's office, the fire department, all of us have to be rowing in the same direction together to make sure that our citizens are getting what they need. Nobody wants to watch us fight. It is not something that anybody wants to see. So we all need to be working together to make sure that this, and I'm hearing you need more investment in your roads. You need more attention to how things are being developed. I could not agree with you more. We're trying to work on zoning right now. But there may be some things that we can do in terms of that. So I appreciated her question, and she left so fast I didn't get to answer her, but I do understand that those are issues, but we got to deal with those together. We can't do them by being disparate about it. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor
Good evening.
Deegan.
Good to see you again.
Pastor Michelle Godfrey Watson. I live in 32218 However, I'm come here tonight because I happen to be the chairman of the board of directors for the Jacksonville Urban League. And Mayor Deegan—
You were cut too.
That's my comment. Let me thank you for your ongoing commitment to building an equitable Jacksonville and your leadership around empowerment and community investment. It mirrors exactly what the Jacksonville Urban League has been working towards. And as you know, the $2 million, because I was there for those 2 days, in funding that had been designated for the Urban League's Empowerment Center was recently removed from the Finance Committee.
That was for veterans, right?
Yes. So the center is not just about buildings. It's about creating workforce opportunities. It's about supporting our veterans, giving our young people positive pathways, and providing families with the resources to thrive. But unfortunately, despite repeated outreach, many of the council members who voted against the funding have declined to meet with us to fully understand the long-term community impact. And so my question is, how can we work with you and your office to identify pathways to bring this issue back to the table? And is there a role that you see that your administration can play in helping us to secure a fair hearing with the Empowerment Center?
Listen, you know, as I said, budgets are value statements. They're moral documents. And you have look, some of this is just an honest difference of opinion. There are some people who simply, truly believe that we should only fund police, fire, and trash. Those 3 things. Those are the 3 things we should fund. We should fund nothing else. I don't know how in a city of our size, with the challenges that we have, with all the things that we need, how we become a successful city that way. I can tell you that the reason that we are seeing the growth that we are seeing in the downtown right now is because we have made investments. We have made investments in making sure that we funded our parks, that we gave enough incentives to certain grocery stores or investors or whatever to come in. Until you reach a tipping point as a city where those things just sort of go, that's what you got to do. And we are getting to that point very quickly. So what I would say to you is, you've got to stay civically engaged. There's no way to circumvent the system we have. You do have one mayor in this city, but I'm not the one that runs everything, right? As the council loves to say, the mayor proposes, the council disposes. So they get to decide. I present a budget, they get to decide what stays in and what comes out. And what we have going on right now, and I'm just going to tell you flat out what's happened, is we've got a number of challenges in this state. I would say 1 and 2 would be affordability in terms of housing and insurance. Very big challenges for Tallahassee. They have dealt with neither. And so what we came up with this year was, you know what polls really well? Property tax cuts. Let's go sell that. Then everybody will be happy. That was not even a thought in the heads of our city government here, either on our side or on the council side, before we got into this particular time and place, until the pressure came to do that. And so while you do have some folks who philosophically believe that we should continue to lower taxes, I'm not going to say everybody, but what has happened for primarily is that folks have been put under political pressure. Vote for this or you don't go to the next place, right? And we got a lot of young people on this council that would like to go on with their careers, and I get that. I'm sort of long in the tooth now. I don't have much time left to do whatever I'm going to do, right? But a lot of these young people really want to continue on in politics, so I get why they succumb to that pressure. But at the end of the day, what I would say is we go the furthest together or in our political careers or as a city when we actually do the right thing for our citizens, when we listen. So what I would say to you is, and another very long-winded answer to your question, what I would say to you is you got to show up. You got to talk to your council. You got to write letters or emails to every council member. You got to call them. You got to show up in public comment. And beyond that, we'll continue to try to come up with private investment for these things. But if you want your city to invest, That's up to your city council. And so you're going to have to make your voices heard to them. And if they don't do what you want them to do, then you need to show up and vote for somebody else. That's the bottom line at the end of the day. Now, you heard somebody say earlier about the council districts. Yeah, they are. You're right. They're drawn in a way that's very interesting. Okay? But we do have 5 at-large council seats too, which the whole city votes for. And guess who wins those? It doesn't matter. I don't care about party. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't care about it. I just want to work with people that want to move. You know, I'd be perfectly happy if we didn't have parties and we just all work together to do the right thing. That'd be fine with me. So I'm not talking about party here, but what I'm saying to you is, you got to show up. And one of the things that particular party has been very good at is showing up. And those of us who, regardless of party, that don't want to get stuck in that particular rut of, you know, this team or that team. We just want what's best for our city. Those vast amount of us in the middle that just want to move the city forward have got to show up. So I would say you got to show up. And that's, I wish I had a better answer for you, but the pathway is to keep on keeping on with the pressure and with the civic engagement.
Thank you. I will say that we are applying pressure.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you?
Well, it'd be better if I wasn't here talking about what I'm going to talk about.
That's okay. That's why I'm here.
I'm Gary McVeigh.
Hey, Gary.
I am a resident of Jacksonville, Florida from day one.
Very good.
So, and I've lived here, I built my home 40 years ago and enjoyed it well. And when we buy our homeowner insurance and stuff, they said you're not in a flood zone, so you don't need flood insurance. Last year, come within 4 inches of my house being flooded. And the reason why is this zoning group you've got rubber stamps all these developers. You're developing property just because you got water and sewer. What you don't have is a way to get rid of the stormwater. And when you annihilate all the woods, which the first thing they do, come in and clear cut it off, then you got another problem. Well, 2 years ago, a gentleman come in and right across my fence, he dug a 2.5 acre pond. Half acre of it is in wetlands, okay? And nobody said nothing to him. When they finally caught up with him, he permitted the thing as a bar pit, okay? And then he got tied in with a developer. It's called Bird Dog Realtor.
Bird Dog?
Bird Dog, yeah. And he convinced them into going in with him and the other neighbor, and he was going to develop this piece of property, consisting of about 14 acres, okay? He took it to zoning, but he didn't get the 40-foot lots he wanted. They gave him 50-foot lots. Didn't like that, so they just walked away. Come the hurricane season, before that, we had lots of rain. We had water saturation. My side yard become part of his pond because he had burned up where it goes back to the ditch, to the creek. So it come to me. So he's flooding my property now. Okay?
You and I are way on the same page with this. Let me say something to you about this though. And I think
let me
okay,
finish
go
what
ahead.
I gotta say. If this storm that's heading this way, if it shows up, most of the people that live down Yellow Bluff Road, they haven't been here in a hurricane. They're gonna be underwater.
Well, we haven't even had a hurricane here, really.
Yes, we have.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
lived
Since
through hurricanes,
Dora.
okay?
We hadn't had one
Yes,
since
I
Dora. Right.
was in the 6th grade during Hurricane Dora, okay? So I know about that one. But no, we've had other storms and tropical storms.
Right.
And what happens is we get the northeaster, holds the water into the creeks where the water is supposed to go. But the problem is where I got in trouble, because our little development, the developer come in and he did a nice stormwater station. But there again, our development, the smallest lot is a ½ acre. I sit on 3/4 of an acre. Okay? And I built my home, and everybody in my neighborhood built their homes. Okay? Now the builder worked with them, but anyway, they were all individually done. And so we're to the point now to where when he walks away and they have citation after citation, he does nothing. They turn it over to magistrate, nothing. 2 days ago, here comes the survey crew again. Now, according to what I got from Mr. Barnes, which is the head of the zoning, they didn't start construction within the 9 months time period they supposed to have to start. They did nothing. So when he come and he called me, and they used my property to walk around, because if you go from the road, you can't get through there because it's already washed out and everything. Because they buried all the debris of the stumps and all right down my fence line. 250 foot of my fence line, a 27-foot digging track hoe, you couldn't see it. And they buried it all, okay? Covered it up. Well, that piece of property now is useless because you can't put nothing in it because it's decaying and it's caving in. It's washing out. And it's, there again, everything keeps encroaching on me. And so here they are putting stakes in. They said they're going to put up a debris fence, plastic thing, to keep debris off my property. I said, I don't worry about your debris. I don't want your water. And that's the problem we have. You go upstream from Cary Creek, right across from the new Publix there. They built all these homes in there. They're 5 feet apart. You got nothing but asphalt, housing, and concrete. All that water from all that property is in the creek. Now what the creek does now, it fills up, and where my storm water would go into the creek, the water now upstream is so high, it's coming back up my storm drain. So now all of our storm drains are filling up. We got nowhere for the water to go. Have you ever seen, like last year, when we had all the rain, my pool filled up full of dirt. Took 2 days to clean the dirt out of my pool, okay? Because when groundwater rises, it pushes all the dirt up where normally it would drain out. It was filling up into the pool.
Let me ask you something in the interest of time. Where does it stand now? Or do you have, is anything happening to provide you with any relief in that situation?
Ain't nobody doing nothing.
Okay.
It's up to me.
Are you aware of this situation? Okay, do you see this? Turn around. See the lady waving you back there? Yeah. She's with the Planning Commission. Yeah. I put her on the Planning Commission because she hates stuff like that.
I've got all the documents here. I've got the maps because I get notified of all the stuff that they do for the drainage and stuff because I'm on the fence line.
Yeah, listen, it's not acceptable. It's not acceptable. I will tell you that one of the things that we're working on in terms of our new zoning plans is we're working with the resilience map that shows the areas that are likely to flood,
what
right?
What you need to do is stop the development and stop the builders.
I understand.
From coming in
I get that.
No, what you've done, you put water and sewer down Yellow Bluff Road.
I understand.
And they
I didn't.
And
yeah.
now the contractors say, oh boy, we got water and sewer, we can develop and put 40-foot lot homes in there. But
I hear you.
And they got paperwork here also that they're going to trade property so the back acre of that property is wetlands. They're going to fill it in.
Okay.
And they're going to build a house on it and sell it to some poor sucker.
Listen,
that's going to be underwater because that creek's coming to it.
I 100% agree with you. I 100% agree with you.
He's going wide open here.
I 100%. So what I started to tell you is what we are doing right now is trying to educate the development community and giving them incentives to build elsewhere beyond the places that are like that.
Well, the problem
because
with that is the fact that the other city councilmen don't want it in their area, so when the vote comes up,
Well-
Mike's only one vote,
well,
and they're voting for this to come
listen,
through, and that's how he
we are.
got his
I am working very diligently to create a planning commission that is more in line with your way of thinking. Okay.
Because you gotta
But
think about what's
it
going
takes
on.
time to do that. People roll on and off that board. Okay. You gotta put appointees like that lady that's going
Yeah.
to talk to you right there.
But also, you've only got 2 roads to get out of here.
Yes.
You go out Sterrett Road, or you go out New Berlin Road, because you're not gonna get through Yellow Bluff
Dorothy.
Road to make Main Street,
Dorothy, come up here.
because unless you have got a big truck, you don't know where the road is, because Yellow Bluff Road will come across.
You
and it'll
are
be
you are
full
preaching
of-
you are preaching to the choir, young man. But I want you to get your situation at least looked at.
You haven't been there.
Sir, I went there when I was running for office, and I know exactly what you're talking about, and I've been unable to stop it so far. But I'm working on it.
Okay.
Okay? You can ask Mike Gay whether I agree with you on that particular issue. Mike and I don't agree on everything. This is one we absolutely do.
I've been talking to all of them, and Bethany does a fantastic job of keeping me up to date on things, but there again, I'll take the time to come and talk about it.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming.
All of us are going to be underwater.
Yes, you are, and I hear you. Yes, you are. Good evening.
Good evening.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you as well. Like yourself, I am a 5th generation Jacksonville native. And so when I hear that our city council wants to focus on public safety and infrastructure, and they see that as their only responsibility with the budget, is actually very offensive, because we didn't elect them to just do a budget for public safety and infrastructure. We elected them to also care about the health, safety, and welfare of all of us in the community. And so your budget better reflects our, morals and values of our community, not just for ourselves, but also taking care of our neighbors, which is so important, and it's what Jacksonville was really built on. The other thing that I think is just so important to point out, like you've said in the media about this being so performative, because I don't know how many people know how many city council members have their hands in the till taking money from the city and complaining about how they're trying to cut the budget when they are getting millions of dollars for their organizations. And so how can they take millions of dollars of our taxpayer money and then talk to us about saving us a Happy Meal? And they don't expect us to know this because it's not so clear in the budget if you go looking for it. It's not easy to find. Transparency is not always easy to find. You've got to look within departments, within departments, within departments to
We
find
have
it.
transparency dashboards at the mayor's office that
Yes.
are all online.
But I'm talking about some other organizations that are within, under the city umbrella. It is hard to find. What I could find is that our city council president, who is an executive at the Boys and Girls Club, that the Boys and Girls Club is a top recipient of money from Kids Hope Alliance. And all you can find on paper is that it's more than 3 million, and I can tell you it's way more than 3 million. So the same person who is preaching to us that government money shouldn't be spent on social services and in our nonprofits is getting millions of dollars of our taxpayer money. And they don't want you to know that. They want to be able to do these press conferences and stand before us and make these statements like they're being so virtuous and so responsible with our dollars, while they are some of the biggest recipients of our dollars. And I think that's important for us to know, because they don't want us to know. They don't want us to find out. They want us to live by sound bites and think that that's what this is all about. And it's not. This is about honestly opposing our mayor. And so I will just, it was more of a comment than a question.
Well, I appreciate the support. I'm not trying to vilify anybody. I'm really not. like I said, some of this is a difference of philosophy. But what I don't like is when political pressure causes us to do things in the city that truly are not good for our citizens. And I'm just going to be honest with you. They know it.
They know it because
They know it.
They know it.
And so it is something that has always bothered me about politics. It's one of the reasons I ran for office just exactly against that type of politics. I do not think when you get elected to a position in the city of Jacksonville, we all become Team Jacksonville. There shouldn't be this, performative stuff. We should all be working to make the lives of our city citizens better. Period.
And cutting those dollars don't help us as a community at all.
No.
Not as individuals or as a community.
And listen,
it just allows them to say that.
Here's the other piece. These are the same folks who have been screaming that we're about to go over a fiscal cliff. We're going to be millions of dollars in the red. That's why you see them taking these monies and putting them into contingency. They know we shouldn't be cutting this millage rate. And like I said, it's not like they're providing you with any real relief. It's $1. And for your renters, it's not that. So we got to decide what kind of city we want, first of all. And then we got to go and tell our leaders, me included, that's why I'm here, what we should be spending that money on. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Good evening, Ruth.
Good evening.
Nelson Peoples, and I live in 3226. I wanted to comment on a couple of things. I recently wrote our councilman and asked him to be here tonight. I am glad he is here because I'm a little sick of all of this partisanship. There is nothing partisan about drainage, roads, stoplights, cleaning up the homeless. It should not matter what party you're on. And the city council and the mayor's office is constantly in a fight to get things done rather than working together. And I think that I probably speak for many people in saying that we're tired of this.
I'm tired of it too.
We want y'all to work together, and I frankly have asked that my councilman work with you. So I hope that he does. I'm willing to donate my little bit extra of tax dollars toward your budget. I moved here from Palm Beach County, and part of the reason I moved here is because the taxes were so high, but my taxes were 2.5 times what they are here.
That's right.
And my home here is much more beautiful.
Right.
So,
and we want to keep that. We want to keep it like
and
that.
I moved here for all of the natural beauty and all of the wonderful things that Jacksonville has to offer, the kayaking and hiking and boating, and so that brings up another issue. The zoning that other people have talked about. I don't know if everybody knows here, but the zoning, the LUZ, is comprised of city councilmen that were elected. It's not your committee. I heard someone say tonight, your committee. The LUZ is comprised of city councilmen that the city elected. And one other thing I want to mention, because I am a super voter. A super voter is a person that votes in every single election, whether it's a national election or a local election.
Thank you for doing that.
And I am proud of that. I am very proud of that because it takes a lot of work to research every person you want to vote for. And I vote across the party lines, and so I challenge each and every one of you here to become a super voter. In 2023, this is so very sad. I'm sorry, when I read it, it upset me so much. 33% of Duval County registered voters voted. Only 33%. We had the opportunity to elect 5 councilmen at large to represent the North End, and we didn't. We didn't. We let someone else elect councilmen that would support their area. Now, our councilman is just for our area, and he is only one vote, but we had the opportunity to put 5 other people in that would help him. So, I covered so many things. Oh, I wanted to mention about Bird Dog, because he was at the LUZ last night, and he was asking for property to be rezoned there, and about 50 of us from the north end showed up, and so they deferred his request. He seemed shocked, but he did want to put in more of those small properties. There were 4 properties on the LUZ last night for the north end. You've got to show up, people, at those meetings. It's a long way down there, I know it, but we carpooled and we showed up, and they deferred all of those. There were 2 developments that they thought they just were going to get a home run free and clear last night, and they were deferred.
You know what that means, though? That means now you got to show up again.
I know it means we got to show up again, but we will. We will. And we're learning. You know, a lot of us didn't know all of this stuff. We're learning about it. And it's a hard, long drive to get down there. But ask a neighbor. You know, there's a lot of people that'll carpool and will help.
Thank you. I appreciate your involvement, truly. Can I say this too? And because I don't want this to come off as, you know, look, we have accomplished a lot of things together. Myself, this administration, and the city council over the last couple of years. There have been a lot of things we've done. Unfortunately, people get silly when you start to get closer to election season, right? So I think you're seeing a lot of things you might not normally see all the time. I'm not excusing it. I'm simply saying that the more you can encourage that nonpartisanship, that working together, that Team Jacksonville, that leave the hyperpartisanship, you know, to DC. You know, don't bring those politics to Jacksonville. I think the more you can encourage that in your city council people, the better, because we have accomplished a lot together, and we don't want to see that slow down for political reasons, and we certainly don't want to see a meaningless property tax reduction that will result in services being cut for our citizens.
Hi, I'm Valerie, and I live in 3226. And my husband also owns a business with a partner in 3226. One thing I wanted to talk to you about was property taxes. I understand it's an Affordable Act, but we ourselves have worked hard. My husband has worked hard, started a business in '99, and is still in business today. When I did my taxes last year, my tax guy said, who helped me, said, Miss Deegan, you don't have your, what do you call it?
Homestead?
Homestead. My mind went just blank. It's been a long day. I've had a flat tire and a lot of crazy stuff happened today. But, so I was like, okay, well, I thought it automatically transferred when we sold our house in Amelia View all the way to, I thought we had filled that out and it was taken care of. I did not realize that. So I went, thought I was doing the right thing, and filled out the homestead exemption. Well, because of all the new infrastructure we're allowing on this side of town, when they redid that, they doubled my value of my home, which doubled my taxes. So you talk about affordability, it shouldn't be for just the people that can't afford it, and I'm all for that. I want every person here to be able to afford their first home. I know I owned a home at 20 and 21, but we built it from bottom up. Not in this county, in Nassau, but that's wrong. We need to do something because my property didn't change from January to January. It didn't change. I didn't add anything. I didn't improve anything. But my home value doubled because of all the infrastructure, which is upping the prices. Well, for an investment point, yes, it's great. But we're getting to retirement age. Okay, I'm hitting that 60. It's looking scary. But that's wrong. So something's wrong when you don't change anything, and I just realized that I didn't do homestead exemption. I did not understand that they were going to double price. Call me dumb, that's okay. You know, I'm a nurse. I get
I'm
called that all the
I'm
time.
sure that can be confusing sometimes.
Yes. So there's something wrong because when you get homestead, I understand, if I understand it right, and correct me if I'm wrong, that you can only go up 3% once you file homestead. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, but you can go up 100% when people don't have homestead and didn't know that. It was a mistake on my part.
I wonder if there's an appeal process in
There is,
There
and
is.
we have appealed.
Okay.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
your situation is unique.
Okay, but what do you say? I mean, only thing I can compare it to, because it tells you in the appeal that you need to have appeal. The only thing I can compare it to is all the new infrastructure. Okay, just since we've lived on the north, well, we've lived on the north side a long time, but we own this property that I'm referring to since 2011, I believe. I may be wrong, it may be 12. It's 40 acres. We bought it because we want a little bit of heaven on this earth. Okay, that's why we bought it.
I get it.
We bought it from a bank who a developer had bought it, so we got a good deal. But we want to be able to continue to live on that property.
Sure.
Until we die.
Yep.
Or we're not able to.
I get
But then
that.
I'm going to move my daughter in that's sitting back there in, and she's going to take care of mama. But we got to be able to afford it.
Well, hopefully your appeal will be successful given what happened.
But we need to do something about it.
Well, I hear you on that, but that has nothing to do with what's been proposed by our city council. Okay.
Well, I just want to make sure.
I don't think $1 back on your property tax bill is going to be all that helpful to you.
Right, but I'm not talking about that, but I'm just talking about
You're
all the
talking about, yeah.
infrastructure coming
Yeah.
in, and that is raising the tax.
Well, yeah, listen, there's no question that property values have risen. There's no question about that. But as you said, if you have a homestead, they can only go up 3%.
Right.
So that's manageable for most
Right,
people,
right, exactly.
So in your situation, obviously, you know,
100%.
Yeah.
Went up. So my taxes doubled. The other thing I wanted to say is I heard you say you didn't have any control of Duval County Public School.
I don't.
You don't. But you have great influence. So here on the north side, I have 3 little grandsons that are coming up to the age. One starts kindergarten next year. So I say to you, maybe you need to be more verbal, because we have 4 elementary schools here that are at max, and we only have 1 middle school and 1 high school, unless they go to Magnet, that feed into that. And that's something we need to look in with all these new subdivisions coming in, is just putting more on that. And I say that, and
I agree with you on that.
so we need to address that as a community,
Yeah.
and it can come from you because you're going to be the face of Jacksonville per se.
Well, one thing I think we should do is I think we should make sure that any developer that comes into a community has to develop for the whole. I mean, it's got to. Let's have parks. Let's have schools. Let's create a master plan for what that
Absolutely.
community should look like. Not just come in and clear cut trees and
I could tell you a
move on
tree
through.
story about
Yeah.
that, but I'm not, because anyway. So that, and I know that, and I know a lot about the schools this year because my youngest daughter is just graduated college and is now a school teacher here in Duval County. She's a music educator.
Wonderful.
And she didn't do it for the money, because we all know they don't make that much, but she did it because she wants to be an influence
Yes.
on the next generation. And these kids now that are in school are COVID kids that were born during COVID. So we got COVID kids now, and she sees some things there, but I just hope that we can, as a city, see that, and as Mike Gay or whoever else is city council, to see that we need to, when these developers come in and they build 1,000 new apartments in 5 different places, they're bringing all these children in. Where are they going to go to school? In the 4 elementary
You're right.
schools
No,
that
you're
we
right.
have.
You're really right
Or the
about
1
that.
middle
Yeah.
school or the 1 high school.
Yeah.
And I remember when First Coast was.
Do you talk to your school board members?
I have not personally, because I haven't had any. You don't think about it.
They're the
'cause-
ones that have control over all that
Yes.
stuff.
Yes. But my daughter has, my youngest. That is what she is. She's trying to be a responsible adult. And then my oldest one as well. But I didn't think about that too much, because my kid is gone out of the school system at that point. But it's something we need to think about as a city, and I feel like it can come from your office to kind of put some pressure on to do something for our community.
Yes, ma'am.
But anyway, and the second thing is, I would love for you to come in my car, and I'd love to drive you around and show you our community and show you all the new subdivisions that have been built, as well
You
as
know
the
what?
ones.
Go and talk to Melissa Ross. Let her give you her card, and we will set that up.
Sounds like a
You got it. Thank you.
I promise I won't be long.
That's okay. Go right ahead.
I'm not very political, but I just had a couple of things.
Well, thank goodness for that.
Yeah. I just had a couple of things to say. First of all, I know you were talking about affordable housing and stuff like that. Really quick, my mother will be 70 years old, September 29th, and she lives in Jasper, Florida. We recently lost my brother about a year ago. Well, I said recent, but that's a year ago. She's been trying to move back to Jacksonville for 3 years. When she moved, she was on like a low income type of housing or whatever. She put in her application to Housing Authority 3 years ago. So I'm not understanding how all this funding is going into affordable housing, but there's been no movement in housing.
There's not a lot of funding going into affordable housing. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay.
We keep trying to invest more in affordable housing. Okay. There are 5,000 units that are going to be coming online, but we've got a waiting list of 40,000
3
people,
years long.
and we're not investing enough money in it. That's my point. Every dollar that we put into this year's budget of local affordable housing dollars was cut.
Okay.
That's what I'm trying to
That
say.
answers that question. Okay.
There's a waiting list because there's 40,000 people on it, and there's 5,000 coming onto the market. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It is really of crisis proportions. And what I try to say to people, I'm not trying to be big government. What I'm trying to say is let us, as the public sector, see what we can do to try to create a template that will help us solve this problem. Let us partner with the private sector, and let's finally start to put a little skin in the game like so many other cities are doing.
When you say
help
private
our community
sector, are you
over.
talking about people doing all this building?
Yes.
Okay. Because that was my question. If they're doing all of this, in order for them to get permitted, a percentage of these units probably need to go to
100%.
the senior citizens that are at least looking for a place, you know.
You're right.
And then my other question, so that was really my main concern. My other question was, you said something about transitional housing for the homeless and for the veterans?
That's right.
Is that something we need more of, transitional housing?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
we do.
So if there's anyone here, I have homes that are available for that.
And we have targeted several different organizations that we're working with in places that would provide that. But we need the funding to be able to do that.
Gotcha.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mine's gonna be real quick. I'm a retired 22-year Army veteran. So I'm big on service. Then I went and got my license to be a mental health counselor. What I have found,
To be a what? I'm sorry.
mental health therapist, counselor. So what I have found, then I run into this problem with homelessness. I'm here because of affordable. One question I want to ask you, with two questions. Connect me with your team that does the affordable housing, because I need to be connected.
Where's Josh Hicks? There he is. Josh is right behind you.
Oh, okay. And then the other thing is the population that I am helping right now as a landlord. They can't get into traditional housing. So, what is your definition of affordable housing? Because these nice complexes are going up, but $2,200 a month or $1,800 a month for the population that I work at 7-Eleven. They're working hard.
Yeah, it really depends on. You're right. There are different categories, right?
Right.
So you have workforce housing, which is more the type of housing that you're talking about in terms of, like, if you're a teacher or you're a hospitality worker or you're a police officer, you're making a good income, but you're not making enough to afford what the market rate is. Now, then you have below that the folks that are at, what's the threshold for super low? I can't remember what it is. Josh, you're over there talking, and I need an answer. What is the definition of below workforce housing? What is that? 80% of AMI? Okay. So we have talked about creating an affordable housing trust fund, because it's hard for developers to be able to afford that unless we give them enough funding to be able to put that into their equation. In other words, we need some sort of gap funding to help them to be able to afford to provide that housing. Okay, because it's not profitable for them, but yet we still need it, right? And that funding was cut also. So I'm just saying that these are all things, they're follow-on things, right? That's why you've got to fund these things. They don't sound sexy to people. People go, well, why do we need that? We need it because we got 40,000 people on a waiting list for affordable housing.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Okay.